It's the indoor plant you've never heard of. Let's talk about Radermachera. What's up, fellow plant enthusiasts? My name is Dylan and this is Bane's Botanicals. Today we're talking about Radermachera. I'm doing my best on the pronunciation. This is a new one for me, but yeah. This is also known as a China doll plant. Now, I have seen this plant, but I never really did much research on it because I've seen how it behaves in the retail setting. And this is actually one of the first plants to go. We'll get into that in a minute when we discuss the care. But one thing to know about Radermachera is that in the wild, it's from Southeast Asia. I think it said Southeast. And it will grow into a big tree. Not a giant tree, but big enough, right? For something that is kind of delicate looking like this, it's kind of bizarre to think that it would become a tree. You can kind of think of it as a Ficus benjamina. I would venture to say that Ficus benjamina so far for me has been easier, but I haven't had this plant for too long. And honestly, I had to do some research on it before making this video, just because I know so little about it other than the way I've seen it behave at work. Let's go and do this. Here is the taxonomy information for Radermachera. Radermachera is actually in a bizarre family of plants called Bignoniaceae. Now that's not to be confused with Begoniaceae, which has the begonias. That is Bignoniaceae. Obviously it's written down, but I'd never even heard of that family. That's kind of unsurprising because this plant is pretty unique in the canon of houseplants. Now, as far as the care goes, since this is a tree in the wild, it's going to need brighter light. Now, every website I looked at says that this does need bright indirect light, the minimum, right? But they also said that it does well outside, which surprised me because it is kind of a fragile plant in a sense. But if you did put it outside, you would want to make sure that you are keeping on top of your watering, because the reason that this thing dies in the retail setting is because it needs a lot of water. Not sopping wet like a carnivorous plant or even constantly moist like a fern. You want this thing to dry out, but the second it dries out, you want to water it again. So the minute you feel that soil and it's dry, it's time to water it. This one is in it's kind of a glazed terracotta. It's hard to describe this pot. But I did this instead of my normal terracotta because I wanted this thing to retain a little bit more moisture than normal. And thus far, it's doing okay. I got this one because I saw it, and this is a bigger one than I'm used to seeing them. Usually they're a lot smaller than this, maybe about this tall. And of course, when a plant is smaller, it's going to be more fragile. So I think I judged Radermachera a little too soon. That's why this is my first one. I've never bought one before. So this is indeed a cool experiment. And if you look at those leaves, I mean, those leaves are pretty cool. Just the way, like leaflets. I'm totally spacing because it's late. But just the shape of them is really nice. I mean, the minute I looked at it, it kind of makes me think of poison ivy. But this is not poisonous. Actually, this is non-toxic, so that's cool. And then as far as soil goes, it needs just a regular houseplant soil, maybe one made with like coconut fibers, just so that it has a little bit more evenly distributed moisture, even distribution of moisture. See, I'm losing it. But it does need to be fertilized during the growing season, probably bi-weekly, just because this actually is a pretty fast grower. Like, it grows fairly quickly considering what it is. And so it's going to need those nutrients from those, from the macronutrients of fertilizer. And then as far as humidity, and don't fertilize it in the wintertime, the dormant season from late fall, winter, early spring. Now, this does need a good amount of humidity. And that's where I'm a little conflicted, I guess, on putting this outside. I mean, we do have pretty humid summers here, and the problem is it just gets so hot. Like, it's humid, but it'll also be like 100 degrees. And something like this, I don't feel like would do well in that extreme heat. When I say 100 degrees, I mean Fahrenheit. So I'm just a little bit nervous about it. I'm considering it, but I don't know. Typically, when you have tree houseplants that are trees in the wild, like ficus, they do better outside during the summer, just because that's where they want to be, right? You acclimate them a little bit, and then you put them outside and let them soak up as much as that natural sun as possible. So I just don't know. I just got to think about it because I don't want to lose it. I think this particular plant is really pretty, and I don't want to sacrifice it to the, the torment of a hot summer. But when you do put your plants outside, you do have to water them more than you do inside, because between wind and heat and, well, the sun, your plants are drying out a lot more. Even if it rains a lot, you may still have to keep an eye on them. So yeah, I don't know, you guys. I know that when they do get bigger, maybe not indoors so much, but when they get bigger, they do produce like white, kind of trumpet-shaped flowers. But they say that that doesn't really happen much indoors, which doesn't surprise me. How many ficus plants have you seen blooming indoors? It's just not something that happens. But yeah, it's definitely a plant you should pick up. The only ones that I've seen usually are from Costa Farms. They're usually in a little like 3 or 4 inch pot, and they're maybe $4 or $5. I mean, $4 or $5, you might as well try it, right? Oh, there's Athena. Yeah, I think no. I think that's about all I have to say about Radermachera. Oh, and this is Radermachera Seneca. And to my knowledge, that's the only species that is in cultivation as a houseplant. If you guys have any experience with this, I would love to hear it. If you guys have any advice or tips that I didn't talk about, this is your time to contribute. This is why we do comments and everything, because this is how we learn. Is we learn from each other. And I am far from the ultimate houseplant expert, right? I'm just learning some of this along with you guys, and that's how we get better at it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you learned a new plant today, right? And if I'm pronouncing it wrong, somebody correct that too, but Radermachera seems to work. Thank you guys for your likes and subscribes, and for sticking with me, and for your comments especially, because that contributes to this community. And until the next video, I'm gonna take care of Athena because she is getting really needy, and I will see you guys very soon. Thank you.